Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. I believe that will be my cue to get going. My name is Rob Croucher, and I am a board member of Commerce Ballarat. As pleased as I am to be here, I think we all hope this is the last Biznet breakfast that we'll need to be doing virtually. Thankfully, this is looking like the best one yet, so I hope you all have a fresh cuppa in hand and are all set. I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Wadawurrung people, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. A special welcome today to the Mayor of Ballarat, Councillor Daniel Maloney, also Councillor Samantha McIntosh, Councillor Ben Taylor, and Evan King, CEO of the City of Ballarat. The Liberal Party member for the Western Victoria region, Beverly McCarthy, sends her apologies. She would have liked to join the webinar, but has Parliament commitments this morning. I also welcome our Biznet sponsors, and of course, to all of you who joined this morning. Now, Commerce Ballarat have partnered with Grow Ballarat to create Be More Digital, offering a team of local digital specialists to assist Ballarat businesses during their COVID recovery. The team assists eligible businesses with free mentoring in digital marketing and strategy implementation, e-commerce, web development, and SEO. This service is being provided to approved business operators in the tourism, hospitality, retail, beauty, and fitness industries in Ballarat. Commerce Ballarat members are eligible for 5 hours free consultation and non-members 3 hours. Please spread the word to any businesses that you may know who would benefit from this free service. All relevant Commerce Ballarat members were offered the opportunity to become a provider of this program, and we have 4 providers here today. These are 4 of Victoria's leading marketing specialists, based right here in sunny Ballarat, who will each provide a short 5-minute presentation on one of their areas of expertise. We will hear from Brent Seamer from Seamer Design, Jordan McFan from JRM Social, Kate Pearce from Pearce & Co, and Nicole Ashby from High Profit Media. During the session, please add your comments to the Q&A box, and we will come back to them at the end. And please include the panelist you would like the question to be directed to, if indeed you have a preference. First up, we have Brent from Seamer Design, which is a Ballarat-based creative agency delivering tailored brand solutions. Their expertise include brand strategy and identity design, graphic design and communication material, and website design and development. The aspect Brent enjoys most about marketing is solving creative challenges for his clients and the excitement of creating something from nothing. He made the move to Ballarat in 2019 and says he is loving it. And Brent's favorite color is Pantone Black. Brent, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Rob. Apologies, I'm just trying to share my screen. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Okay, hopefully we can all see that. Just move that across. Good morning, everyone, and thanks again, Rob. Well, I guess you don't need me to tell you, I guess, how tough it has been for business of late. And I too, as a small business owner, certainly had to deal with our own struggles. But this morning, I just want to speak to you a little bit about branding and the importance of having a healthy brand. Today, more than ever, we don't want our brands to be in just, I guess, survival mode. We want them to really thrive and grow. And I think the Be More Digital program is a really great way to sort of kickstart this. So firstly, I just want to touch on what a brand is. Often when I say brand, people think logo, but a logo on its own is not a brand, nor is your business name, your tagline, or a product. A brand is in fact how a customer or client perceives you from their experiences they have with your brand. It's these combined experiences that influence the way they think about your brand. It's basically their gut feel. So a brand is, I guess, not what you say it is, but what they say it is. So if a brand is how a customer or client perceives you, then you need to be able to shape that perception. Brands also need regular checkups to keep them healthy. You just can't sort of set and forget. And I guess all the big name brands around the world constantly sort of fine tune this. So something you just need to be aware of there. So first, how well do you know your audience? Do you know how old they are, where they live, how they socialize? Often when I ask a client who their target market is, I get a fairly sort of vague response. So you need to be really able to pinpoint this as best you can and really know who you're speaking to. And your audience probably isn't just one group. So creating personas is a really great idea. You can attach names and photos and things to the profile, so you really start to get familiar with them. So who your audience is today is maybe not who they are going to be tomorrow. So you need to identify this now. Most likely, you might need to make some changes to your brand to better capture that audience in the future. And I guess thirdly, speak to your customers and clients that you have now. Ask for their feedback on your brand, whether that's a one-on-one situation, a survey, or a focus group. Find out what they like or what they don't like, or what maybe you do well or not so well. I think we can all agree that COVID has really changed things really fast. The way we live and the way we buy has been turned on its head, which means it's never been, I guess, more important to stay ahead of your competitors. First, find out who they are. Identify at least your top 5. And today, more than ever, and depending on your business, your competitor could be in the same street or on the other side of the world. So know their business well is really the first step. So do your research. Find out what they are doing better than you. Are they dominating the market? And if so, why? And you might need a new strategy if that's the case. And I guess thirdly here, what are you doing well? It's great to recognize this and push this as part of your point of difference, which gives you an edge over your competitors and maybe makes you stand out from the crowd there. As I said before, your brand is more than just your logo or a tagline. Brands, like people, have personalities, and these personality traits really need to connect back to your target audience. Common traits might be sincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, and ruggedness. And these are just some of the brands that sort of sit in those categories. Everything from your social media approach, PR, advertising, etc., or even your in-store experience really affects how your audience sees you. So I guess you need to think about what people see when they look at your brand, or even just walk into your store, whatever your business might be. Consistency. I guess as consumers, we turn to brands we know and trust. And part of engaging the right emotions with your consumers is making them feel like they know your brand and that your brand can be a trusted one. So brand consistency is a really big part of building that trust. You need to be consistent across all the touch points of the brands of your brand, whether that be your website or in-store experience. To be consistent, you need a set of brand guidelines. These guidelines are basically a set of instructions or ingredients for creating the visual identity of your brand. And these are just some ones we did recently for a client. So to build a strong brand presence, whether that's a website, online advertising, social media, really need to consider the health of your brand, your audience, competition, your personality, and how consistent you're being with your brand. So really consider the health of your brand and be ready to thrive and, I guess, not just survive. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Brent. Great stuff. Next up, we have Jordan. Jordan is a marketing consultant specializing in digital marketing and provides partial or complete marketing management for small to medium businesses. Jordan originally began in general marketing with pet stock, but had an opportunity to create their first national social media strategy, and from there discovered a passion for the digital world. Jordan loves converting online engagement to actual business numbers, whether that's direct revenue, numbers through doors, or simply bums on seats. She also has a mini bulldog named Roy and is a fantasy sport enthusiast. Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Rob, and good morning, everybody. It's nice to see so many people on board this morning. So I'm going to talk this morning briefly around mostly focusing on social media and the behaviours that we've seen emerge or amplify over the last 18 months, what we sort of expect to see going forward and coming out of the pandemic, whenever that might be, and also then how to leverage that and give some examples of brands that are doing it well. So as you would expect, as we all expected, social media or online use in general has increased exponentially over the last 18 months. It was already growing year on year and has been for many years. But obviously with the rise of COVID and lockdowns, people in isolation, people unable to visit family and friends, we've seen an enormous increase from, depending on the platform and depending on the type of use, anywhere up to 1,000% sort of month on month. So as you would imagine, that 1,000% is video calls. The way that we're communicating with our family and friends has completely changed. And what we're seeing when we do come out of lockdowns is, while that number decreases, it is remaining higher post-pandemic. People's behaviour has changed, and it is looking very likely that that behaviour will stay changed for at least the foreseeable future. So in terms of social media, or in terms of online traffic, what we're seeing is the biggest growth areas are in social media, in videos, and in online gaming. There's 70% more time being spent across all of the apps compared to 2019 or very early 2020. The predictions at the moment, and they are predictions, we haven't gone through a pandemic, we haven't seen this kind of social change in our lifetimes. But the prediction is that activity will remain very high across the board. So social media and an online presence was already absolutely key before this, but it is now at a point where you absolutely cannot be playing in these spaces. So the good thing from a marketing perspective is that while obviously business and times are incredibly difficult, one thing that COVID has afforded an opportunity for is for marketers to connect with an audience who are currently craving content. They're bored. So they are looking to interact on social media and not just with each other, but with brands, with products, with small business. What we've seen so far coming out of lockdowns is that those brands and those businesses that don't go into full shutdown mode during lockdowns are the ones that come out of lockdowns with increased engagement. And that's not just engagement on social media. We're seeing that it is converting into, whether it be sales or if from a hospitality perspective, from people going to those venues. We're seeing this consumer that is actually appreciative of those brands that have kept engaged with them, that have provided them entertainment and content during these times. So it's really important to note that content, well, social media has never been about just broadcasting and pushing sales, a sales focus down the consumer's throat. That's even more important now, assessing how you're talking to your customer, what their needs are at the moment, what they want to see and hear, being empathetic to the situation that they're currently in, and understanding that financial situations from person to person are really varied at the moment, just like they are from business to business, and ensuring, using the correct wording and having those conversations is really, really important. Anyone who has ever heard me speak before would know that I am always talking about engagement on social media. That is the key metric. It's not just about getting, oh, I have 5,000 likes or I've got 10,000 likes. If those people are not engaging with your content, you may as well have 10 likes on your social media, but those 10 people are really invested in your brand. It is really about quality, not quantity, and that is even more important now than it ever has been before. So while engagement has significantly increased, messaging has actually decreased. Understandably, when you take in all of these types of businesses that are almost fully shut down during a lockdown phase, it means that messages are decreasing, but that doesn't mean that people aren't seeing your content. It doesn't mean that people aren't engaging with your content. So I guess the important thing to think about is, how are you going to leverage the current increase in social media use and engagement, and what does that look like coming out of this? One example that I will give you is actually a client of mine, Freight Bar, who I'm not sure who may have seen their social media over the last week or so. Chris Sargent at Freight has been really, really focused on making sure that Freight stays in front of mind, and from the very start has continued to stay open, has done takeaway, has tried to create events and different initiatives while being in lockdown. And in over the period of coming out of lockdowns, what Freight has seen is they're finding it easier to get people back into their venue because they've built that relationship during this period. And what we saw last week was that we had a couple of local business people come in and actually pay forward some beers to go for orders. And the next minute that escalated, and we had multiple people coming in and purchasing from Freight to pay free beers on to the next people, which culminated in a group of people getting together and pre-purchasing 120 beers to then be paid on with orders for free to customers. And it's that sort of, those sorts of things are what we're seeing come out of continuing that communication, not being afraid to discuss when times are tough, not being afraid to be honest, while at the same time, obviously not pleading. And I think that empathy is going both ways, from business to consumer and consumer to business, and the support those businesses that are providing ongoing content. Another example would be a piano bar doing their live streams. And what they find when they come out of lockdown is suddenly their venues are full because they're providing an experience, and they've also provided an experience over the last 18 months for people who really don't have a whole lot to do at the moment. So prioritizing that customer experience is really, really important. The other thing that I would suggest doing at the moment is, if you have been thinking about expanding your digital strategy or social media strategy, now's the time to do it. If you were thinking about playing, and bring your brand onto TikTok, now is the time to do it. It's while people are at home, and while we're kind of, a lot of industries are quieter, now's the time to start playing with all of those things that you've considered doing over the last 2 years. Thanks. Pass it back to you, Rob.
Great. Thank you, Jordan. And thank you, Roy, as well, for your comments. Next up, we have Kate Pierce from Pierce & Co. Pierce & Co. is your small business cheerleader, offering marketing and business consultancy in Ballarat and beyond. They specialize in social media marketing, strategy, and process improvements. Kate is a fan of all things pink and is actually fluent in Mandarin. So Kate, I will hand over to you.
Thanks, Rob. Good morning, everybody. My topic, I suppose, that I'm primarily talking about today is online stores. And before I kick things off, I just need to preface the discussion that in a past life, I did also run an online store myself. So shipping goods worldwide, but we now support clients here in Ballarat with their online stores and marketing. I think when we talk about an online store, we need to probably think beyond what our typical perception of an online store, an e-commerce store is. So for example, purchasing good X, getting that physical good sent to us to our post box or to a street address. There is a world of opportunities available to businesses to pursue an online store. And you don't just have to sell goods, you can sell services. So let's look at some options that you could maybe look to incorporate, or you may already have with your business. Gift certificates. Now, this obviously Father's Day just gone, these work so well. Some of our clients, this is the only good that they sell online. As we know, we've sent them, we've been recipients of them. This allows for 24/7 sales, can be ordered online and sent directly to the recipients. Another area that you could look at with an online store is online training. Do you have certain training? Do you have consultancy? Do you have coaching that maybe you have previously offered in person, but you can now migrate online to Zoom? A good example of this locally is Platypus Co-working Space. They do a lunch and learn session that was obviously pre-COVID in person, but has now migrated online, where you can purchase to attend a session and learn from professionals in their specific field to enjoy while you're going to town on a toasty at your desk. Another option is subscriptions that you could look at for your business. My coffee delivery from Karen Farm is eagerly anticipated every month. This is set up, it's a rolling direct debit that I have. I have a fierce brand loyalty to them, and it makes it so ridiculously easy for me to purchase my coffee. This model is also great for businesses as, say for Karen Farm, it gives them insight into the projected sales that they have for that side of the business, and it can also assist in forecasting for you for that line. Digital downloads. Do you have a product or a knowledge or something that you could maybe convert into an ebook that you could maybe sell online? Now, when you're looking at an online store, and we find this with a lot of clients if they haven't got this, I appreciate it can feel overwhelming to maybe bring that into your business model. If you already have an existing website, there are options for you to have plugins and apps for you to add that onto maybe your existing WordPress site or your Squarespace site. You can integrate an online store into that. You could maybe look to set up a Facebook shop. You could maybe look to sell through an e-marketplace like eBay. There are many, many options available to you. Now, while COVID, as Jordan and Brent and I'm sure Nicole will allude to, this has had a huge impact on businesses and people moving online. I even know from my own personal, and everyone online here would know that shops are closed. We've been ordering online. We've been doing click and collect. I think that if you don't have an online model, now is the ideal time for you to look at this opportunity and look to see what sectors and what factors you have in your business that you could maybe look to set up an online store. I think an online store with, again, it's as Brent said, it's not a, having online, it's not a set and forget model. It's something that needs to be constantly tweaked. Setting up an online store, it is not you set it up and they will come. That needs to be armed with having strong SEO, so search engine optimization, combined with a strong social media presence. It opens up truly a world of opportunities to you. So your business can be operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I know when I ran the online store, you're essentially getting sales. You wake up and you're waking up to all these sales that have been made while you're essentially sleeping. It also allows businesses to access your products and services anywhere. I think it's an ideal opportunity for us here in Ballarat. I think that it's probably a lot of us have changed the way we work, the way we think. Whereas we've maybe traditionally always had face-to-face meetings, people are now online and they're used to doing that even more so. So it just opens up business opportunities for you beyond Ballarat and the region, having an online store. And I think that really it's something that if you don't have, there's so many simple integrations that you could have that will see your business grow, armed with many, many other factors. That's it, Rob. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate. Last, but by no means least, we have Nicole from High Profit Media. They are an organization that help craft the delivery of key messages to your ideal customers for increased clarity, connections, and conversations. Nicole was drawn to a career in marketing by the psychology of understanding what's important to people and ultimately assisting businesses to be better at what they do. High Profit Media specializes in media coaching, copywriting, and business mentoring. Thank you, Nicole.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rob. I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry. And okay. Oh, okay. That doesn't want to work. Okay, that's not going to work, but that's all right. I don't need my slides. I can talk without them. So yeah, good morning, everyone. Nicole Ashby from High Profit Media, and there's been some great information shared here this morning. And what I wanted to do was really talk a little bit about copywriting and how copywriting can help your business. So essentially, I'm also just going to put on my timer. Essentially, copywriting is about content. So we've heard everyone talk about marketing and content creation, and copywriting is really what goes on your website. So if you think about words that are on your website, it could be blog posts, definitely social media, sales pages, and also ads. And what is really important, as Brent said, is to know who your ideal customer is and to really market to your ideal customer. And you need to have that really in-depth understanding of the psychographics and the demographics of your ideal customer. So that really means, as Brent touched on, knowing, the education background, their income, where they live, how many kids they've got, all that sort of information. Because when we're writing content and copy, it has to be targeted to our ideal customer. And what's really interesting, I guess, where I specialize a bit in this is I'm really interested in the psychology of this. And we have three parts to our brain. And our first part of our brain, the reptilian brain, it's really geared towards safety, you know, something safe. Is it going to eat me? Can I trust it? Can I mate with it? It's that basic survival stuff. And when we're writing copy, so if you're thinking about a Facebook post, if you're thinking about a headline on your website or a headline for the media, it has to trigger the attention of that original part of your brain. So we need to have headlines that are speaking directly to our ideal customer. And if we don't speak directly to our ideal customer through our copy, through our marketing, we risk being lost in a sea of sameness. So the more niche you can be and the more targeted you can be talking to your ideal customer, the better success you're going to have with your marketing and to get that to really cut through. So that's really important, is to speak to those ideal customers. And it's really about, you know, how that customer does perceive you and how far that goes along with your branding. Excuse me. So if we're thinking about, again, copywriting, it's websites, social media, blog posts, media releases, all of that can go along to help your brand. So we need to have headlines that are triggering your attention, and we also need to keep that original brain engaged all the way throughout our copy. And the more we can speak to the ideal customer, the more engaged they're going to be, and that's going to lead to increased conversions and copy. So basically, I guess, you know, how I can help you out there, if you are, you know, one of the businesses that has been, you know, really hit but is eligible for this mentoring. So if you're in fitness, retail, hospitality and tourism, and you need to basically get those messages out, I can really help you out with identifying who your ideal customer is, so psychographics or demographics. Where do you find them? How do you market to them? What are the key messages around your business? So it's really important to understand your ideal customer, but essentially, what are the problems that they're experiencing? What are the problems that they're going through? So if you're thinking about, you're on a, you know, an Insta feed or Facebook and you're scrolling and something pops up that could be of interest to your ideal customer, you want to grab their attention, hook them in, and make sure that they stay on your ad or your post, because that's speaking to them and showing that we understand where they're at is absolutely critical for our business success. And, you know, that's where I can really help you, is with that key messaging, speaking directly to your ideal customer, identifying them, where they're at, and then the problems that they have, and that you basically have the Panadol to those problems, and really helping deliver those key messages. So that is it from me. Thank you, Rob. Back to you.
Thank you, Nicole. Fantastic. Now, we've had a few questions come in, which we'll go to now, but just a reminder to get your questions in the Q&A box. We've got 10 or 15 minutes now just to go through these. First question is for Jordan from Catherine Hayes. Catherine asks, do you work with businesses to help improve their SEO? And Catherine's from Ballarat Indoor Go-Karts and Laser Force.
Hi, Catherine. Thanks for the question. I will work with businesses on basic SEO, but it's not my specialty. I'm not sure, Kate, do you do much SEO work?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
That. So, yep.
Yeah, I think Kate would be a better person for that than me.
Great. Well, Kate, we'll come to you if you wanted to add anything onto that, but there's a couple of other questions here for you, and I'll wrap them up together. So Sally Kennedy asked, what payment gateway would you use for a Facebook store? Sally has PayPal and asked, would that suffice? And then Simon Coates asked, there is currently a digital adaptation grant for $1,200 through Business Victoria. I think it is only available through Square. Are you familiar with this? And if so, can you suggest some examples of for what a service business might be able to receive to dip their toe in the water?
Okay, first to Sally. Facebook, it loves you to stay within the app. So you would set the store up in Commerce Manager and then look to Facebook Pay would be the options available to you. You don't need to have, that's one thing, you don't need to have a website. So everything is done within Facebook for that. I have to be 100% honest. I don't think that you can integrate PayPal. I don't know if Jordan knows that, but I think that I know it's definitely Facebook Pay. They do love you to stay within the app. Yeah, lovely, thank you. the digital adaptation grant, the 1,200. Yes, I'm of the understanding I think there's a list of 14 approved suppliers on there, and Square is definitely one of them. Depending on, Simon, wasn't it? Sorry, Simon, depending on what you are looking to do for your business, if you are looking to purely have an online store, there's definitely Square. I think one of the providers might even be Shopify on the list of 14. So depending on, look through the list of 14 and your eligibility for that grant, and having a look, I suppose, at your business model and what would be best aligned. And frustratingly, it's none of us here. It's really is the big four. It's the big boys that are doing that digital adaptation grant. I would have a look at your business and see what best aligns for you. But yes, Square is definitely one of them, or Shopify, depending on what you're looking for your business. I would go through those 14 and see what's best for you to get that allocation for the grant.
Thank you, Kate. We have another social media question. So Jordan, I'll fling this one your way. This is from Marcel from Pristine Water Systems. They are very strong in the social media sphere, and it is the driving force behind their success. One very big drawback is that you only need one disgruntled customer to make themselves a nuisance to your brand. That 0.25%, 1 in 400 in our case, can have a huge impact unless you're right on top of this. Should you be proactive online or just ban and hide them? Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, look, it is certainly one of the drawbacks of social media. It's also one of the positives because it makes brands more transparent. I definitely don't recommend just banning and hiding someone or hiding a comment. Obviously, that is a little bit situation based. So there's absolutely no problem with removing a comment if it is abusive or offensive, whether that is to you or whether it might be to somebody else. You know, there's swearing or whatever it might be. On that occasion, it can absolutely be removed. Generally, even in that situation, I would write a comment on there first and say, we're just letting you know that, you know, this type of language is not okay on our page. We're going to be removing this comment in an hour. If you would like to discuss this further, you know, we would really love to hear from you, and please inbox us privately or email us. That's generally the way that I go. If you've got a serial pest, so you're sort of talking, someone is commenting, you know, all of the time on everything that you do, then that's a bit of a different situation. And once again, though, I would do something similar as to what I just said then. And it would be, look, you know, we appreciate your feedback. We've asked you multiple times to, you know, email us or inbox us so that we can work through this together. Unfortunately, we haven't heard from you, so we are going to need to ban you from our page. And go about it that way. So it still shows transparency to anybody else. The issue is when someone sees a negative comment and then it just gets hidden or deleted, it can leave a bad taste in other people's mouth because they think, oh, hang on, what's happened there? That, you know, there's bad feedback and it's just being ignored and hidden, and this brand isn't transparent. So keeping that transparency is just really key.
Thank you, Jordan. Brent, a question for yourself. You mentioned that it's important to know your target audience and the types of people that you're targeting. I wonder if simply if you target more types of customers, you'll simply sell more stuff.
No, I guess that comes back to what I was saying. You don't want to be just targeting just more types. You need to, I guess, identify who your audience is, whether that's who they are down the track or who they are today. But you really need to identify who they are, not just attacking all different sorts of groups. So it's, as I said, it's really good to sort of know who they are rather than sort of just doing a blanket sort of approach to that. Thanks,
Brent. Well, I've got two more questions. So a final shout out for anyone that has a last minute question. Jordan, I want one question for yourself, please. And this is around automation. it's an increasing theme within marketing. And I know social media, if I see how much time my wife spends on Instagram putting up posts and things, it seems as though it can occupy a lot of time. So what advice would you give to businesses to incorporate automation within their social media campaigns?
Look, automation is something that you need to be really careful with. I understand that when people are time poor, it becomes more important, and often, the theory is, well, let's automate this so like it's done and it's not front of mind. It's not front of mind, and it's all sorted. But as I sort of was discussing earlier, the key part of social media is that engagement and that communication. And automating just kind of, a shout out, which happens, 3 times a week and is a similar sort of message, isn't going to get that engagement. If you're talking about automation more so in terms of actually scheduling your posts and having them ready to go, there's some great applications out there. I actually don't use any of them. I don't run my social media accounts that way. I like to, although I'm proactive, I also like to adjust and be really, really flexible to what is happening, particularly with how quickly things are changing at the moment. If you are looking at going down that path, then I'd suggest having a look at all very different pricing, and they vary significantly. If you're looking for a really sort of complete suite, which can do a lot of your listening as well for you, then Agorapulse is one that I would look into. If you're looking for something a little bit cheaper and the main thing that you're needing is just, a complete suite to be able to schedule your activity, then I'd suggest having a look at Hootsuite. Social Bee, not Hootsuite.
Thank you, Jordan. Nicole, a question for yourself. In today's made world, is content less important than pictures and videos?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I think images can be really powerful on platforms such as Instagram, but you also need that content and the copy to go with it. So if we're thinking about, again, ideal customers and who they are, you can use a really powerful photo to grab someone's attention, and that's great. But then what happens from there? So when you've got an image coupled with really effective copy, then you're going to do more in terms of increasing your brand awareness and leading to sales rather than just having a picture. But I would say having both is pretty important. And you can change that up if you're talking about a social media page. It might be some text on Facebook, and then it might obviously be that image on Instagram, coupled with some really well-crafted copy.
Great. We'll take this as the final question. This is from Rebecca Start from Richard Start Accountants, and this is for you, Brent. Rebecca asks, who should I target as my audience? Who I have now or who I want as a service-based business with a large customer range?
Well, I guess that again, that's a good question. I think when we start our businesses out, we probably have an ideal customer in mind, but I guess that can change over time. So who you want to, I guess, target in the future is probably who I'd probably start to look towards now. Again, it depends on the business, or where you're at with things, but I'd definitely say sort of you need to probably look at looking at the future audience there. So yeah.
Thank you, Brent. I know I said that was the last one, but Nicole, I'm coming to you for the final question, if I may. Going back to Be More Digital, you're a small business owner in the tourism, hospitality, retail, business or fitness industry. Why would you be getting involved in Be More Digital?
Oh, gosh. Well, you've got some great marketing providers here that all, we all have different niches that we specialize in. And, if I was thinking about, getting back on the horse and starting to grow the business, I'd be really tapping into service providers here to really narrow down and look at ideal customers, key messaging, values of your own business and how that matches up with your ideal customers, and then getting that assistance, you know, once you're looking at your brand and then your copy, and then tailoring that to some really clever initiatives and strategy through, you know, social media platforms. Definitely.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. Well, thank you, yes, to Nicole and to all our panel for giving up your time this morning. Thank you to our 2021 Biznet sponsors, Adroit Insurance and Risk, BJT Legal, Findex, Ballarat Living Magazine, Hip Pocket Workwear and Safety, Radio Ballarat, and the support of the City of Ballarat. Next month's Biznet breakfast is Breakfast with the Stars, and we will welcome some local trainers and jockeys from Ballarat Turf Club, and details will be in the newsletter. That is everything from us. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope to see you in person in a month's time.